Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I am adjusting audio. Just give me a moment, still setting up all of the techie thingies. I'm excited to be here today. I am excited to be sewing with you, but most importantly, I am also very excited to kick off the weekend. I realized I've got something over here behind the camera that is very important to what I'm going to be doing tonight. So I need to run over here and grab that because I want to show you what is on the docket. I literally wrapped this, like I did this in a matter of probably about the last 15 minutes before a live stream. And so I want to show you what we're going to be making tonight because I am not ready for any sort of sound, Miss Becca. I don't know what that means, Kathy. Sound looks like it's working. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm just waiting to make sure everybody acknowledges that they can hear me in the chat. Testing. I guess if I'm waiting to find out if you can hear me, I should probably keep talking, huh? Let's see. Hello, good to see you this week. Hello. I see Ian. I thought I saw Ian. Yep, Ian's in the chat. So is Tiffany. Thank you, friends, for being here. Yes, sounds good. So happy. Okay, good. I'm glad. You sound just fine. Awesome. Thank you so much for confirming that the audio is working. Awesome. We are going to go ahead and just mute that so that we don't hear the dings if people are trying to get a hold of me. I do have a few people that can slide into my messages while I'm live. So if something freakishly goes wrong, hopefully you only see that for about 30 seconds or so. All right, so this is what I'm going to be making tonight. I literally whipped this up in about 15 minutes, and it just took a bit of scrap batting and 2 fat quarters, one for the inside and one for the outside. And my goal is to use this as an Easter bucket. Yes, I know this one is Star Wars themed. Sorry, I like Star Wars. Leave me alone. These were a couple of fat quarters that I got at Five Little Monkeys Sewing and Quilting I think they're in Asheville, North Carolina. I got these fat quarters on my way back up for my retreat last year. And I've been really trying to think, what do I want to do with them? Well, tonight I decided to make a little bucket, and my goal is to fill this with some goodies for my husband for Easter because I like to make him an Easter basket too. And the reason why I'm doing this is because neither of my kids have an Easter basket, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend $10 on a fabric bucket or felt bucket at Target to put Easter goodies in, especially when I can make a fabric basket that is personalized to my kiddos. It might be something that they enjoy using the rest of the year. So we're going to let go of the Easter themes with these buckets. We're going to make these fabric baskets really more focused on my daughter and my stepson's personality and what their desires are. So before I get the comments in the chat about why are you making an Easter basket out of Halloween fabric? Because that's what my child likes. So we will be, I have something just flew into my mouth. We will be making a Jack Skellington and Sally fabric basket for my stepson Justice. His favorite movie ever is Nightmare Before Christmas. He loves all sorts of animated Disney movies, and so we're going to lean into that with that one for him. And for my daughter, we're going to pull a bit of grunge for the lining, and we're going to pull some saxophone, trumpet, cello type fabric. It's got some music instruments on it for the outside because that speaks to her. Neither one of these are Easter themed, but again, if they're themed to be themed for the recipient, maybe they'll get a little bit more use. So I feel like I had a flyaway hair from my mouth just go right into my, or flyaway hair from my head go right into my mouth. And it's probably going to bug me most of the evening. So apologies in advance if I'm like, where did it go? All right, so before we get into the sewing, let's say hi to the folks that we have in the chat. I want to make sure that I am giving a special shout out to all of my channel supporters. If you don't know who my channel supporters are, these are the folks that appear in the live chat. Their names are in green and they have a little heart next to their name. These folks have committed to setting up a recurring payment to help financially back my channel every month. So I want to say thank you to all of you. I see Becky Spencer's here. She's one. I'm just going to call it a few names that I see that are in green. Catherine is here. Tracy, I see you too. Jackie is here. Shelby, aka Math Geek, is here as well. Bill Imhoff is here. And Donna Dixon. Hello, hello, hello. And I think that's... Oh, Geraldine Gatton. Hello, Geraldine. I see you. Mike Seppa is here. Hello, Pat Strawhouse. I think I've got most of the green names, but I do... Oh, Gigi Quilts is here. I just want to make sure I say hi to all of you because I feel like there's enough of you that I can say hi to you when your name shows up green, or at least try in the beginning of the live stream. There's that. Also, don't forget that my Rachel Nelson is here as well. Thank you, Rachel, for being a channel supporter. I want to make sure that you know that the two names that are popping up in blue, there might be a few more throughout the course of the evening. I know Mary is usually a blue name as well, but Tiffany and Ian are here. They are moderators. Their names are both blue. So if you have any issues, questions, whatever, they'll make sure that those get in front of me if I don't answer them. So just make sure to tag them or tag me in the question and we'll make sure that that question gets answered. Secondly, as a thank you to both of them, not that you need any introduction to Tiffany or Ian, keep in mind that both of them have YouTube channels of their own and they would love it if you would hop over and check out their content. They both go live on Sundays. Ian's usually around 2 o'clock Eastern time and then Tiffany right now is 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's always 5 o'clock Arizona, but Arizona time does not recognize daylight savings time. So sometimes it's 7 p.m. Eastern, sometimes it's 8 p.m. Eastern. I usually let her tell me what time she's going live and my time zone because I can't keep straight. I should put Lake Havasu, which is where she lives, in my phone so I always know what time it is for her. That would make sense. All right. You can also use exclamation friends. Donna is here. She has a channel as well, and she'd like it if you check her out. Yay, I don't need new glasses, Angela said. Okay. Holly says, love the idea of using non-holiday specific fabrics. Much more useful. Exactly. You know, a few years... Hey, Casey, I see you too. A few years ago, I used to do this thing for my family and friends and I loved doing it, but I don't do it as much anymore. I was getting subscription boxes a lot and I loved the idea of surprises in a box, especially surprises that were tailored to meet my personal preferences. So every year for a birthday, I would go buy a gift box and I would go and curate a bunch of little prizes, sweet treats, little gifts, sometimes handmade items, and I would put those in the box, and all of those were things that reminded me of the person that I was going to gift the box to, and we called it a birthday box. On your birthday, you got the birthday box. It had some candy in there, it had some other things, it was just all sorts of things that I thought of when I thought of you, things that I knew that you liked. I thought that was a personal touch. I love doing it. I don't do it as much anymore. However, one year, one of the recipients gave me feedback that they liked the contents of the box, but they did not like the box. They wanted something more useful. So they asked for a wicker basket or some sort of storage item from the home decor section out of Target. So instead of spending as much money on the items that were in the box, instead of getting the $5 or $10 gift box, I went and got a storage, like a wicker basket to put the things in. And I can kind of understand where that came from because the box feels wasteful, right, to get rid of. But the storage item, the wicker basket, is something that you can use forever. And so that's kind of my hope with this. Although I am not going to use my top-notch fabric for either of these baskets, and I am definitely not using foam. I'm using scrap batting because ultimately these are being made for children, and I do anticipate they will either be discarded very quickly or they'll love them to death. And so we're just going to use what I have laying around the studio to do that. But I am going to sneeze, and I'm going to mute when that happens so I don't blow out your eardrums. I'll be right back. The sneeze did not happen. And also, I had 2 boxes of tissues sitting right over here because I just emptied a box of tissues and I knew I was going to need them. And so I was keeping them close at bay. And guess what? They're gone. So I have paper towels instead. Nobody judge me. At least I'm not wiping it on my shirt. All right, let's see what else we have going on in the chat. Dr. Kathy Smith says, and I'm in. Had to feed the woofers. They are very impatient. I hear you. Carla Jensen says, happy Easter. From Becca from Iowa. Happy Easter. Sharon said, God bless you. Lily says, hi, I'm lurking. Have one eye on my work emails and one eye here. Hello, Lily. All right, let's just get started sewing, shall we? I want to show you what I am excited about. So I'm going to go to the overhead shot. I want to show, oh, that's interesting. Let's just fix this so it's pointing to the right camera, shall we? We don't need 2 of those. Come on. Weird. Hold on. I don't know why it's pointing to the wrong one, but it is. And there we go. So here is what the basket looks like close up. We've got an inside lining and we've got the outside. Now, when I put this together, I'm going to show you a technique that I use that's a little bit different. A lot of times when you're making a tote bag or a basket, they tell you to leave a hole in the lining fabric. I'm not doing that. I'm going to make a hole. I'm going to leave my hole, my gap up here at the top, and you'll see exactly what that looks like. So I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to bring over the fabric that I have for my stepson's basket, and we're going to get started with that one. So I've got 2 fat quarters here, and I'm going to cut from each of these fat quarters 2 pieces that measure 10 inches by 12 inches. Oh, Mary, thank you. I appreciate that. I have little travel tissues in a beauty drawer underneath my long arm, and I always forget they're here. And Mary just reminded me that I've got a whole stockpile of them down there. I was looking for the boxes. Appreciate you, Mary. Thank you. Becky says, cool project. Thank you. All right, so I will tell you when you're making this, and I'll pull this back over here so you can see, if you're working with directional fabric, you'll want the top of the fabric to be the width, right? So we're going to cut our fabric to be 10 inches by 12 inches. And so what that means is we're going to be 10 inches high by 12 inches wide. And that's going to give us enough room to kind of wrap around a little bit. So this one is kind of a scattered toss print. I don't feel like there is a right side up or a top to this. I don't think it's directional at all. And to test that, all I'm going to do is just turn this all 4 ways and see if I've got a Sally kind of standing up in each of those directions. And I feel like I kind of do. I feel like it's either probably this direction or this direction. I think this one would probably be not right. So I think that's semi-directional. I think this is the same. I think this is the top over here. So we're going to treat them the same. I want the 12 inches to be this way. So I'm going to fold this in half. Well, so what I'm trying to do is do all of my cutting on this one, on this mat. So I'm struggling a moment, but I'll get there. All right, so I know I want it to be 10 inches from bottom to top and then 12 inches from left to right. So we're going to go 10 inches from bottom to top. So here we go. I'm going to fold this in 4s. And so I should be able to just do all of my cutting on the half marks-ish. I feel like I'm going to fail if I do it this way. Hold on. Let's just do it the way that we know is going to work. Okay. This is the bottom or the top, so I need 10 inches of this. So I'm going to save the selvage as much as I can. going to trim. Wait, hold on. I got to look at it again. Nope, that's right. So this is the 12. Okay, I know what I'm doing now, I promise. All right, this is the top of the fabric. This is the bottom. I need it 12 inches wide. So I'm going to lay it down on my cutting mat, and I'm extending past the 12-inch mark just a bit because I'm going to quilt this. This is the outside fabric. So rather than cutting this exactly down to 12 inches right now, I'm going to cut it at 12 and a half. And that's going to give me an extra ½ inch so that I can quilt this up nicely and then square it down later. So now I'm going to lay that on the 0 line over here. And I'm going to come back over to that 12 and a half inch mark with my ruler. And I'm going to go through all of that. Now this is scrap. So if you wanted to make some handles for this, you absolutely could. Then I'm going to turn it. Ooh, I don't love that. I'm a little shy. I'm a lot shy. I'm a lot shy. Okay, well, I know how to overcome that. And I'm going to show you in just a moment. First thing I could do is actually size this down a bit. I don't have to have it be the 12 by 10. I could have it be 8 by 10. Remember, this is the size that I'm making out of a 12 by 10. I could totally size this down so that it's an 8 by 10. And I think that's actually what I'm going to do. We're not going to overfill these buckets. They're going to be great. So instead of having it... That's not going to work either. 1 second, guys. 1 second. How much can I get? 9. Okay, 9. We're going to go with 9. Let me just make sure that I don't have what I'm looking for here. So I think the fat quarter was a little shy because I cut from it the other fat quarter. I was able to get 2 pieces out. It might be because this is directional. I don't know. It's throwing me off by only having a 12 by 18 mat underneath. So I'm doing some quick thinking on my feet. And that means I'm not actively talking because I'm problem solving as I go. But once I get the problem solved, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. So that's 12 and a half wide. Okay. And then this is going to be, let's go with 9 by 12. That'll work. What I was trying to do is measure what I could get out of it to yield 2 pieces. So I'm going to go with 2 9 by 12s. And if I've got to go smaller than that later, I totally will, and it'll be just fine. I might go with 8.5 by 12 actually when it's all said and done. But right now, the most important thing is that I separate this into 2 pieces. Okay, there we go. Hello, Mary. I see you. Oh, she's talking to Pat. I was going to be like, what? Why? Never mind. You're talking to Pat. I see you. I see you, Mary. All right. So these right now, these 2 outside pieces are measuring about 12 and a half, just over 9 by 12 and a half. That'll work. So it's not going to be that much smaller than the other box. So I need 2 pieces that are going to measure about 9.5 by 12.5. Actually, no, this one I have to cut right at 9 by 12 because it's for the lining. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Can I get 9? Yes, I can. When I put the fold on the 0 line, I'm looking to make sure that these raw edges come up past that 9-inch mark. They do. So that's telling me that I should be good here. I'm going to put this on the 12-inch mark on my rotary cutter, sorry, whatever, my ruler on the rotary mat. There we go. You know what I meant. And then I'm going to clean up the other side, just like that. Put the ruler on that 12-inch line. Cut through those fabrics. Now I'm going to rotate this. Actually, I'm going to rotate the mat because now I'm cutting at 9 inches and it's easier to do it this way. So I'm going to put that fold just past this 0 line because I'm going to have to trim that off. And then I'm going to find the 9-inch mark on my ruler, or on my rotary mat, rather. I keep saying ruler, you know what I mean. I'm going to line my ruler up with it. I'm going to clean that edge up. Take that off, and I'll flip this around like this. And I'll do the same thing, and this is going to cut that fold to turn it from 1 piece into 2 pieces. See if I have the thing yet. One second. Trying to get the chat loaded. It's not loaded for me. There we go. Come on. Stop thinking. Start moving. Everything's just like the whole chat just froze for me. So there we go. There we go. Excited that that's now loaded the way it's supposed to be. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's my 2 9x12 pieces. I'm going to pull my exterior back out. I'm going to set my scraps aside. I have my 4 pieces of fabric that I'm going to use. Now I'm going to bring in some scrap batting, which I have 2 pieces about the size of my exterior. Maybe a little bit bigger would be great. So I'm going to lay this out so that I have 2 layers of that batting. I'm going to put my exterior on top of it, just like this. And I'm going to roughly cut, because I will clean this up later, I'm just going to roughly cut around that fabric. Hello, Tina. Welcome to the live stream. I'm not worrying about precision here. There we go. All right. Now I've got one here, and the other one, I'm going to lay the exterior rectangle on top of the batting, just like this. And I'm just going to take these both over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to quilt it. When I quilt this, I'm going to use like a 3.5 stitch length. And I'm not really going to worry too much about what the quilting looks like. My stepson's going to be more interested in the candy that's inside of this than he is the actual quilting on it. So this is just a really easy project that I'm not going to stress about. I will probably just do 1/4 inch lines just because it's a small piece of fabric. I kind of like the way matchstick quilting looks, and that's really easy to line up because all I'm going to do is just keep hitting the edge of my foot with the previous line that I quilted. And this will take me a little while to do, but I already know that the previous bucket that I made took me about 15 minutes. And I've got 2 hours to kill on this live stream, so why not densely quilt it? Plus, I feel like when something's densely quilted and a product like this, it just makes it feel a little bit more stable. It makes it feel a little bit more solid. Hey, Nikolai, how are you? Oh, and guess what I did? I ran out of bobbin. So time to change the bobbin. You never know when that's going to happen. Get a sip of water. I also have, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I got this from Juki Junkies. I have an affiliate link for them in the description box down below. This is a tri-point lubricator. I'm sure you can also get this at a hardware store. Check this thing out. I love this for any machine that needs to be oiled. Oh, that's why we were running. I don't know why I was trying to record. That's why everything was running slow. It's now fixed for me. Okay, check this out in the overhead. It is called a tri-point lubricator. It kind of looks like this. I'm sure you can get it at like an auto parts store or a hardware store, but Juki Junkies does have these. They also have the refill. It has a precision tip right up here. It's like a needle tip. And the benefit to this is I can place it exactly in the 6 o'clock position where I insert my bobbin casing, and I can, it doesn't put out more than what I want. So when I squeeze and want 1 drop of oil, 1 drop of oil goes. I just keep that over in my little sewing caddy. That way, every time I change a bobbin, I can drop a bit of oil into the bobbin casing. Kate's asking, is this your new Juki? Yes, this is a TL18. I have affectionately named her Beulah. It is my new Juki. She is beautiful, and her brother might be jealous that I'm spending more time with her than I am with him or her, whatever. I'm just going to tighten the bobbin tension a little bit. It's a little too loose. I have learned the importance of checking your bobbin tension every so often. That's a little too tight. And I do have a bobbin gauge thing, a Tawa gauge, I think is what it's called. Tiffany insisted that I get one of those, but I think it only measures like M-class bobbins. So this one won't fit, I think. That's what I'm looking for. So I just do the hand test, the drop test. And what I'm looking for when I do that drop test, because I'm sure somebody's going to ask, is I'm pulling a good amount of thread out of the bobbin casing after the bobbin's loaded into the bobbin, whatever. And I'm pulling on the thread to see if it'll cause the bobbin and its housing unit to stand on edge and allow the thread to come out with just a little bit of, not like completely loosey-goosey, but just a little bit of hold on it. I hope that makes sense. And maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. Feel free to tell me that I'm completely wrong in the comments. I am happy to hear that feedback. But I think that's the way I'm supposed to do it. So fun. Does it sew differently than her brother? Whose brother? I don't have a brother, but I do have a baby lock. Oh, or than her brother. Sorry. Then, yes. No, it doesn't sew any differently than Bubba. Oh my goodness. I think a piece of lint went up my nose. I got to that mute button just in time, though. Angela says, I have an HD9 and have learned to do my top tension before I touch my bobbin thread. Yep. Most of the time it is a case where I just set the bobbin tension and forget it and just adjust the top tension. But the reason why I checked that is because I was having some tension issues earlier. And so I figured it had been a while since I've done that, so it's not a bad idea to just check it really quick. Thank you, Kathy. She said, bless you. Ooh, knows it is. Free Spirit said, Becca just sneezed, Charlie Chaplin style. Solid movie. Hey, at least it wasn't in your ear. Thought Bubba was a female too. Yeah, she was, but I think she's going through a gender identity crisis. Like, because I keep calling her a him. So I think Bubba is telepathically telling me, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. And maybe I was wrong all along. I don't know. Oh. If you are new to the live stream, or you're new around here, first off, let me say welcome. Thank you for stopping in. Every Friday night from 8 p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, I'm live sewing something or chatting about sewing, either by myself, with just you, or a friend. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and come on back next Friday when we sew something, and I don't know what it'll be yet. But also don't forget that I have a lot of friends that have YouTube channels as well. And so if you do !friends, you'll get a list of some of them that have commands here. And if you use their command, the bot will automatically drop a link to their channel for you. So you can pop over to their channel, check out their content. And if you like what you see over there, you can subscribe as well. The best way to thank a YouTube content creator for what they're doing without spending any extra money on your own is to watch their videos and hit that subscribe button. All right, let's kick it into high gear. I realized while Tiffany was here, the reason why she's so much faster is because when she hits the pedal on her Juki, it's always all the way down. It's not like I'm usually in the middle zone. Even though I'm in rabbit mode, my pedal's about halfway down. She's always fully down. So let's do Tiffany mode for a bit. What's the weather like in the USA for the bank holiday weekend? It's awful in the UK, really wet and cold. I don't know, but today it was quite nice. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be in my area this weekend. But I will tell you, yesterday, my husband and I celebrated 15 years. That it was our 15-year anniversary. So we didn't do anything last night because, you know, child obligations and work obligations. So tomorrow we will be spending the day together. We usually have Saturdays as our day dates. We do all of our hanging out and anything fun on Saturday day or Saturday evening. That's kind of our time to be a fun couple and have some shared experiences. Tomorrow we are going to go celebrate by going to Captain Pell's and get some crabs up in Fairfax. I love to celebrate over some Maryland blue crabs. Thank you guys. What do you use your baby lock for? Becky is asking. I don't really use my baby lock anymore. It is my mom's sewing machine, so it's set up in my mom's apartment downstairs, so that when she's here, if she wants to sew, she doesn't have to come all the way up a flight of stairs. So we have repurposed a small cutting mat, a small table with a little ironing board on it, her baby lock, and some sewing notions and a small iron, so that when she's here, it's set up on this really nice big desk and she can just sit down there and sew to her heart's content. However, if I ever need a zigzag stitch, I'll just take my project downstairs and work at her station. I've been trying to talk her into setting that up for a while, not because I didn't want her in my sewing room, but I just envisioned at one point she was going to want to sew but she wasn't going to want to walk all the way up the stairs and come in here, especially if I was trying to record a video or I was working from my office one day or doing some behind the scenes stuff, or if I'm working on YouTube or working on my 9 to 5 from this space, it's kind of hard for her to be in here depending on what I'm doing. And so it would be much easier if she would be able to create down there. So what we did while she was here last time is we made sure that she was acclimated to Bubba, the Juki TL2010Q that I used to have over here. So when she's in this space, she can totally sew on Bubba, but if she doesn't want to sew on Bubba, she can sew on the baby lock in her own space. Hope that answered your question. Linda says, I love some crabs. Jacqueline says, I don't keep my machine at maximum because I would make too many mistakes. Hello, Janine. Aw, Joyce says, you are such a good daughter. Thank you. I hope she feels the same way. Angela says, congratulations on 15 years. We are 30 this year. We got married in Treasure Island, Florida, although we are from the UK. Well, happy anniversary. Happy 30th. Brian Springer says it's going to be sunny and 71 here on Sunday, Becca, and I'm in Maryland. Awesome. It's going to be in the 70s. I love it. I love it. Kathy M says, happy anniversary, Becca and Jason. I miss the Maryland crabs. I grew up on the East Coast and have lived for 30 on the West Coast. Food is just different, although I do miss a good Philly cheesecake and tasty cakes. Mary is settling in quite... I did that whole line of stitching with no thread in my needle, and now it's all wound around this little hook thing up here. I don't even know what this is called, but it's wound around it, and we've got to clean this up. Mary is settling into North Carolina, for those of you that are curious, but I think she is planning a trip back up here sometime end of April or early May, so you may see her on a Friday night live stream in a few weeks. I know she's eager to come spend some time up here and visit. Okay, let's try this again. Expected to be 86 in Central Alabama on Monday. Whoo, you keep that 86. No, thank you. That don't sound right. That's why it don't sound right. I see you. The tension didn't look right either. We need to rethread it. I feel like you are an accomplished quilter, like you know what you're doing, if you can tell that your machine isn't doing what it's not set up right just by the sound of it. Like that's how I feel like you know you've arrived. And then if you see it in the stitching too, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And then you can troubleshoot it and fix it. Cross our fingers, this actually fixed it. Nope, something happened. It came unthreaded. Why did it come unthreaded? What's going on? Like it came unthreaded mid-stitch. The thread just broke. Maybe I snipped it. Let's try rethreading it one more time. There, get it into the tension disc, over the spring hook, underneath that, through this, over that, through this, through here, floss it in, give it a tug, wrap it around, needle down, needle up, thread the needle. All right, try one more time. All right, now we're stitching with thread and not air. Oh, shoot. All right, we're going to finish that other line. There we go. Wonder if Alabama will be ushering tornadoes. You keep those too. Thank you. Brandy said they were in the 70s today. So, what did you guys do this week, quilting related? Like, other than working on projects, have you guys watched or listened to any fun content creators that you would love to get a shout out to? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I found, well, not found, I knew of, but I enjoyed this week listening to the latest episode of the Quilter on Fire podcast. So if you guys don't know about the Quilter on Fire podcast, you can download this podcast anywhere you get podcast, like from your phone, your iPad, whatever. You can also just listen to it right over on the website over at quilteronfire.com. The Quilter on Fire podcast is a podcast by Brandy Maslowski, and she does lots of fun quilty chats with all sorts of people, all sorts of quilters. Some of them you know, some of them you may never have heard of. And this week's episode was Kate from the Last Homely House, and it was a 2-hour episode. A lot of the podcasts that I listen to, they're like half an hour, 45-minute segments. And so this week when I have only listened to a few of her podcast episodes before, and they're like, I listened to the Jenny Doan one. I do have the Tulip Pink ones downloaded to listen to, and they did seem long and they kept my attention, but I never realized how long they were. So I don't know if Kate's episode was just really long or they're all longer like that. But Kate's episode was phenomenal. And I feel like I love to hear Brandy speak. Her voice is just really easy to listen to, and Kate's voice is like that too. So to hear both of them talk for a couple hours about things that I love, quilting and stitching, and then also Kate talked about YouTube, which for me was something that I was really excited to hear about because that's part of my whole creative journey. So I really enjoyed that episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, definitely go check it out. Also, don't forget that if you like her podcast, she is embarking on a new YouTube journey, and I think she's still trying to figure out what that looks like. But on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific, she's doing a live stream on her channel where she talks to you about the episode that dropped at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern, I think it is, the same day. So go check all that out. And if you like what you see, subscribe, follow, download, all whatever on all the things. All the things. Quilteronfire.com will get you started everywhere. Yeah, Mary says, I have been catching up on her older episodes this week. Enjoyed meeting her at the VIP virtual retreat last weekend. Yeah, so if you are a channel supporter, your name is in green in the live chat, or you are a member of my VIP membership on my website, every 3 months we do a virtual retreat on Zoom. This past weekend, we had our spring retreat. And we focused on just UFOs and works in progress. And we had about 40 people most of the time that were there. We kept about an even 40, but we were broken down into smaller rooms that were about 5 to 9 people so that you could easily see and hear everybody and you didn't have to fight with a very big room to talk or to see what was happening. But we had a special guest join us on Sunday, and that was Brandy. And she came in and she went to all the rooms, introduced herself, and then actually found a quiet room where she just sat and listened to all the conversation and worked on a quilt that she's making for her son and is excited to gift to him. So I don't want to share that story. I would love for her to share that story on her own socials, but you'll have to check her out and see what that story is all about. Brandy says, I love Tracy's color wheel quilt. Very beautiful. I saw that. That was another 2 hours. It's a 2-hour video. Well worth it. She walks you through everything to make a circle quilt that looks like a color wheel using nothing but her scraps. I probably only got through the first half an hour, 45 minutes, and then I had to pause the video. I do want to try to pick that back up and watch it the rest of the way through to help her out a bit. But it was really cool to see that come together. Oh, Alexandra says, I was busy and missed the Zoom last weekend. Don't worry, the next one is going to be the last weekend in June. So mark your calendars for that now. If you are a member of the VIP program on my website, or you are a channel supporter here on YouTube, the next Zoom retreat is the last weekend in June. So if you are not a VIP member on my website, $5 a month, $55 a year, you get a newsletter, you get the Zooms, and you get any pattern that I write for free in the download area. If you are a channel supporter, $1.99 or $4.99, you pick what works for your budget. Same benefits for either level. And all that is just the Zooms and then the benefits in the live chat here where your name pops out. Mona did what is here. Hello, Mona. Lisa says, I've been watching you and Tiffany and Ian, and I love having you playing in the background while I work on my string quilt. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I am sure they appreciate it just as much as I do. Yeah, and then next, Mary's pointing out there will be a new episode posted soon on the 2024 traveling quilt. Don't forget to check it out when it drops. Yep, the next segment in that traveling quilt is going to drop on April 1st. Might be a day or two delayed. I don't know. Mary has all the details for that. But don't forget, that is a collaboration that I am doing with some other YouTube channels. And they are each making their own video on their own channel in this series. And then when they do, I am putting a link to that video in my 2024 traveling quilt playlist. So the first 2 episodes of that, we had Sean from The Guy Who Sews, and then we had Beth from Goody Goods. They each made a row for the quilt. And the third up, I'm not going to tell you because it's a secret. You'll find out on April 1st, but that video will automatically be added to the playlist. So all you have to do is come right back here to this channel, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you'll see a playlist for the 2024 traveling quilt. And when that video drops, it'll be in there. Also, I'll share it on my community tab, and I'll put it in Facebook and all of the things so that you can get to it right away. All of these folks that I am collaborating with are what I would like to call up and coming YouTubers. You may not know about them. You may never have heard of them. And so this is a great way to introduce you to them and their platform and their style and see if this is something that you like. And if it is, you can subscribe to their channel too and share the love. Susan Year Out says, 53 more work days until I retire from being a para-educator. I have been working for the school district since spring 1995. Awesome. All right, let's get my rotary cutter and my ruler, and I'm going to trim this up to 9 by 12, which is what I think my lining was. And my trick here is if I don't know how big it was, I can use this as a template. So I'm just going to lay my lining fabric on top of my quilted panel. I'm going to put my ruler right along that arrow, that edge. That's it. That's what I meant. Hello, Billy. Welcome to the live stream. And I'm going to slide through that, trim this off. I'm going to turn this around the other way. Who is doing the podcast? Jean said. Her name is Brandy Maslowski, and her podcast is Quilter on Fire. And you can find all of her details on her website at quilteronfire.com. She's got some really big names on there too. Jenny Doan did an episode. Tula Pink did a 2-part episode. So definitely check her out. Hi, Sheila. Angela Christine says, I found you and Ian about 3 weeks ago, so I'm watching a lot of old stuff still. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Did you guys see the tutorial video that I dropped this week that had some bonus footage of Ian and Tiffany in there? What'd you guys think of that video? Hello, Ellen. Welcome to the live stream. Once you have your exterior panels quilted, our next step is going to be to sew our inside and our outside together, right sides together. And I'm going to show you how I do that in just a moment. Guess who Nancy, or as we have determined we're going to call her, Aunt Nancy, said yes. Kathy Has Faith said it was very fun. Maxine loved it. Terry said it was awesome. I am really enjoying doing these tutorial videos, and I feel like I shied away from doing them for a long time for a variety of different reasons. One of the most prominent being, while I knew I could teach, I did not want to be somebody that came across as knowing everything. And I looked at people like Jenny Doan and others that were on YouTube as being the authoritative source for quilting information. And I didn't feel like I could be in that spotlight. It was really a self-confidence thing more than anything else. But I'm embracing it because what I have heard from so many of you is that you really enjoy I did a survey a while ago, a few weeks ago, and you guys came back with an overwhelming response. And by and large, what you really enjoy are the live streams that I do on Friday night and tutorials. You like the tutorials. So my commitment for 2024 is to do one tutorial video a month. It might be a quick sew, it might be an entire quilt project. It just depends on what I have bandwidth for. So this month, what I did was a tutorial for how to make a friendship braid quilt. It dropped on Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember which one, but it was start to finish how I made a braid quilt, and I gave you some tips and techniques for how you can make a friendship braid in a size that works for whatever project you're looking to put it into. So go check it out if you haven't done that already. All right, I am going to sew my fabrics together. Vicki Bush says, Becca, what kind of batting are you using on the bag? I am just using some scrap batting. As I bring quilts off of my long arm, I tend to cut the batting and save it for a while. I definitely do get to a point where I can't keep it anymore and I have to let it go. But in this case, I am just using some scrap batting that was piled up waiting for a purpose. The scrap batting is great because it allows me to put practice quilt sandwiches on the long arm or use it in craft projects so I don't have to open a whole new thing of batting. Lots of people are saying they enjoyed the video. Thank you so much. Jacqueline says, I love your teaching tutorials. You make it easy to understand. Thank you so much. All right, so now I'm going to sew these together, right sides together. I'm going to turn my stitch length back down to about a 2, and I am going to back stitch at the start and end here. Now, seam allowance doesn't matter as long as you're straight. I'm doing this with 1/4 of an inch, but you could do this with 5/8 of an inch, whatever works for you. I did back tack at the end, although at the end of it, it won't matter. I'm going to rotate, because we're going to box our corners. I'm rotating 90 degrees and I'm sewing all along the bottom. Remember, if this was directional fabric, you want the top to be at the top. And then up the other side. So I'm sewing all along 3 sides of this little bag, basket, whatever. The packing box in front of me is full of scrap batting, Susan said. Oh, Joyce says, I think quilting and teaching was your true calling. Thank you, Joyce. That means a lot to me. Like, it really means a lot. Thank you so much. Cheryl Pickett says, sorry, what are you making? I'm making one of these. We're making little fabric baskets that can be used as Easter baskets for my kiddos. And right now, the one I'm putting together is using some Nightmare Before Christmas fabric because this one is for my stepson, Justice, who is special needs. And his favorite movie ever is Nightmare Before Christmas. His favorite holiday is Halloween, like, well, closely followed by Christmas. But he loves all animated movies. I think it's the Eyes that he really likes. So I'm making his basket first, and then I'm gonna make my daughter's if I have enough time tonight. Aw. And Nancy says, I have loved watching you quilt. Thank you, Nancy. And did you guys also notice that I am doing quilting videos now? I am showing you my time on the long arm, but I'm not doing that as full length videos. I'm doing those as shorts and reels. So I'm doing once a week, I'm trying to do like a 1-minute video where I show you some common answer to some question or some tip that I have, or I'm showing you some practicing, some stitching, some free motion quilting that I'm teaching myself on the long arm. And those videos are sped up a little bit because I'm trying to get the I'm trying to get the time down to just 1 minute, and I'm voice overing it. So I'm telling you what I'm doing and I'm walking you through it. So if you're trying to learn to free motion quilt, check that video out. I usually drop them on Tuesdays. I've been doing this for a few weeks now. Check those shorts out. They're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, and they're on YouTube. All three of them are the same. Check them out and see if that'll help you practice your stitching. Maybe you can take the stitch that I did and practice it on a quilt sandwich. And I will say, I did a swirls one, I think, this week, an all over swirl meander type of stitch. And I put that short out, and somebody actually emailed me a photo of their swirls all over a quilt, and that touched my heart. So if you follow along in those videos and that's something that you're trying, send me an email with the picture or take a photo of it, upload it to Instagram and tag me in it, because I can see everything that you tag me in. If you upload a photo, all you have to do is tag me, So Becca, over on Instagram, and I can see it. All right, so I'm sewing my lining together. I'm putting the fabric right sides together, and I'm doing just like I did with the outside. I am sewing around 3 edges completely. I'm not leaving a hole in the bottom. And I'm doing this with about 1/4 inch, a little more, a little less. I just want to make sure that it's not any less than the exterior bag. So if you're going to do anything, make it a little bit bigger seam allowance than the exterior so that the lining goes in really nice. Denise Hale says, I have a quilt on the long arm right now. I think I'm going to use your swirl pattern. First of all, it's not mine, but I get what you're saying, and I think that's great. I'll be honest with you, those little videos aren't just for you. No, they're for me too. Because sometimes when I go over to the long arm, I get brain fart. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't want to do a loopy meander over every single quilt. And I don't want to do a flower meander over every single quilt. So there's a couple of things that I need to be able to do. Number one, I need to be able to practice. So this helps me practice. And I found that pale thread on a black fabric gives you a great contrast so you can see exactly what I'm doing. But then also, those little videos are in a playlist that I can go back and look at on my channel. I can go back and look at my shorts or on Instagram or on TikTok, wherever I'm at, and I can see a catalog of stitches that I have been able to do in the past, and I can remind myself how to do it. I can have a refresher right there, and I kind of love that. So even if you guys don't love those shorts, I do, for that reason. And so I'll probably keep doing them for me, if nothing else. I need a drink of water. Tracy from Craft a Simple Life says, hello, good evening. Love the t-shirt, Becca. Thank you so much. Ooh, Sammy D says, Becca, your video kept me company today while I finished out a UFO quilt top. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to grab a Sharpie because this is the inside of the bag. We don't care. And we're going to cut it away anyway. And I'm boxing my corners. And so to box my corners, what I'm doing is lining up the 2.5 inch mark on the edge of both sides, the bottom and the side of my exterior panel, on the wrong side, of course. And then I'm going to come in with a pair of scissors. Here they are. And I'm going to cut right on that line. 2.5 inches. boxing our corners by cutting out a 2.5-inch piece in each corner, the bottom left corner and the bottom right corner. And I'll probably go back to the overhead view so you can see what I'm doing here a little bit clearer in just a moment. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So now I've got those 2 little pieces cut out. This is excess. You don't have to save this, but if you want to, you do you. There are no rules. It's your sewing room, it's your project, it's your rules. Once I have those 2 pieces cut out of the exterior, I'm going to do the same thing on the lining. And for this one, first of all, we need to make sure that the sewn piece is at the bottom. We want the opening to be at the top. Don't box up here, box down here. And right here, I'm going to just take my rotary cutter and I'm going to cut along my ruler. There wasn't a lot of bulk there, so I didn't feel like I needed to draw it and snip it with scissors, but you can do that if you want to. If you want the bottom a specific size, how do you figure it out? I don't know. I don't know. I just, I don't, well, hold on. Maybe I do know. Okay. So here's what I will tell you. I boxed my corners at 2.5 inches. And so 2.5 and 2.5 equals 5. And so this piece here is 5 inches. So I would tell you, I don't know how to get this size. I don't know that because you're going to have to cut your fabric differently. But however wide you want this to be, half of that is what you're going to box your corners at. I hope that made sense. But I'd also tell you start small, because if you work on it small, and I'll show you right here with this one, once I box the corners, once I take my first cut out, I can line this up, which is what we're going to do next. I take the seams and I kind of nest them together, and you don't have to clip it. I'm just going to do it for the sake of my talk. I'm going to clip both sides. And I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch right along here with 1/4 inch. And when I do that, my shape of my bag is essentially made. So check this out. I'm coming over to my sewing machine. I'm sewing about 1/4 inch away from that edge that I just trimmed on both sides. And I can bring this back over to my mat, and when I stand it up, if I don't like the shape or the size of the bottom, I can, if this isn't wide enough, I can go back in and box this a little bit more. I could take a little bit more off, a little bit more off, a little bit more off if I needed to. And you could do that without even ripping the seam. So I would tell you start small, play with it until you get to a shape that works for you. For the 9x12 or the 10x12 that we're working with, the 2.5 inch boxed corner works really well. Good night, Mona. She's on her way out. Good night, Gia. Or maybe she's not. Maybe somebody else is on their way out. I just saw Mona say good night or night. So not sure if she was saying that to somebody else or to everybody. So whoever is leaving, good night. Now I'm going to box the corners for the lining just like I did for the outside. I'm just closing these holes up, both sides. I'm nesting the seam. And when I say I'm nesting the seam, what I mean is the seam on the bottom and the seam on the side. I'm just trying to put those in opposite directions to reduce some bulk, but honestly, it won't matter if they're going in the same direction. Just make sure that those raw edges of fabric are lined up nice together. I would recommend back stitching at the start and end of those seams. Tina Hollenbeck says, I just joined today. Awesome. Thank you, Tina. Life So Busy says, good evening, Becca. It's been a while since I've seen you. Glad to catch your live today. Hope all is well with you. Once I have my inside and my outside built, I take my inside bag and turn it right side out. Now you'll notice, unlike most purse patterns and tutorials that are out there, there is no hole. There is no hole in the bottom of my bag. There's nothing. This could be a bag on its own, though it's a little floppy. I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it inside my other piece, the outside, and I'm going to make sure that the seams on the side match up. And I'll clip one side seam in, I'll put the other part of the lining in and match up the other side seams on the opposite side, and I'll clip that into place. And now I'm just going to kind of shove the fabric down inside the bag, and I'm going to line up the raw edges of the outside and the inside around here. I'm going to put a pin in the middle on one side. So I should have a pin at like 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, right? And then if I really wanted to, I could clip in between. I'll grab a couple more clips. Just like this. Looks like that. Now I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, but I'm not going to stitch all the way around the top. I'm going to leave a good bit of the top open so that I can reach down inside and turn this right side out. So I'm going to start right about here. I'm going to sew over one seam, all across the other side, over this seam, and then I'm going to stop where this clip is. And then I'll show you my next step. And then we'll be done, honestly. We'll be done. Make sure to sew this with about 1/4 of an inch. Don't use a small seam allowance. If you've got to go bigger, go bigger. Back stitch at the start and end of your stitching because you're going to put a little bit of stress on this seam when you turn the bag right side out. All right, I have my hole in here. Gap between the two. I'm just going to reach inside. I'm going to turn the whole thing right side out. I'm going to use my fingers to pop out my corners. Just like that. Just like this. And then I'm going to take the lining and I'm going to flip it down inside of the bag. Just going to push it down in there. And then I'm going to go around the top and I'm going to use my fingers to roll the seam so that the fabric is folded really nice. I'm just going to take some clips and use those to hold it in place. When I get to the area where that hole is, we're going to kind of do this little shaky thing. I don't know how to describe it, so let me just show you. I'm going to line up all of the fabric all the way that is sewn, all the way around that's sewn before I do the hole, because that'll help me get better control over the fabric folding in on itself. So just like this. Yeah! All right, now I've got this. I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to put it down in the hole, and I'm just going to kind of flip it down in on itself. And I'm going to make sure that the lining and the exterior line up. There we go. I want to make sure that the fabric that's folding down inside of it is at least 1/8 of an inch so that when I go through and do my edge stitch, which is the final step, it's going to close up that hole for me automatically. So I'm going to take this back to my sewing machine. I'm going to start anywhere I like. But with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, I'm going to edge stitch all the way around the top of the bag. And I will back stitch when I start and when I end, just to really make that a little bit more secure. For me, when I say edge stitch on the Juki, that means I'm lining the fabric up with the inside part of my presser foot instead of the outside part of my presser foot. The presser foot, the generic presser foot that comes with your Juki, kind of looks like an elongated U. And so the inside of this inside, the inside of this part that's to the right of the needle is my edge stitch, and the outside of it is my 1/4 inch. "99% of everything I do in the Juki is with this foot. There are other feet that I do have that I can play with if I'd like, but this is the one that always gets the job done. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. It does need a bit of cleaning up, but my stepson is not going to care how messy or sloppy the lining looks on the inside. If I used a different batting or a different interfacing, I would probably have a different result. It would probably be okay. There you go. You can see what it looks like. So I've got 2 of these now. And this is the difference, by the way, in size. So I'll just show you. This one's just about an inch taller or so. This one's still fine. So 9 by 12, 10 by 12, whatever works for you. And they do collapse down quite nicely. So I can just fold it just like I would a grocery bag or a gift bag. And get those creases in there. There you go. So I've got 2 baskets now, and I need to make a 3rd one. They are great for fat quarters. I have made some that were 11 by 17 and box of corners the same way. Awesome. Yeah, I saw a die with Sister Chick's Quilting had done something like this to hold her fabric in, and I've been thinking about doing something like that too. Sorry, I was drinking water. Gotta stay hydrated. Oh, Kathy says, I like to roll the edge down a little to show the lining. That'd be cool. You could do that too. Michelle the Quilter says, I put 2 clips right next to each other to show where I'm going to stop. Otherwise, I forget. Yeah, I was actually hoping that I wouldn't forget because I was definitely afraid that that was going to happen. So what do you think? Is that something you guys could do? Jacqueline Ann says, I had a great time last weekend at the retreat. Thank you, Jacqueline. She says, what machine are you currently sewing on? This is a Juki TL18. What fabric is for Zoe's basket? I'll show you. I'll do that one tonight or tomorrow. I'll probably do it tomorrow, and I'll just sit here and chat with you guys for a bit. We'll take a look at Facebook to see what you're working on. So if you have not shared a photo to Facebook yet, you want me to see what you've been working on, you want to share that with everybody else that's watching the live stream, use !Facebook in the chat, hop over, post a photo, and we'll take a look and see what you're working on tonight. Hello, Stephanie. A handle would be nice. I think I would figure that out. So I can tell you really quick how to do a handle. What you're going to do is cut 2 pieces of fabric. They're about 4 inches by however long you want the handle to be. So that's going to be trial and error, whatever you want. Maybe like I would say 10 inches would be good. When you do the handle, you're going to fold it in half to mark your center along the length. So you'll end up with a piece of fabric when folded that'll be like 2 inches by 10 inches. You're going to need 2 of these for each one of your baskets. Once you have your center mark, you're going to open it back up and you're going to fold each of those long sides into the middle and then fold it in half again and edge stitch down either side. And that's going to give you a nice handle. If you want it to be a little bit more sturdy, I would recommend putting some SF101 inside of the handle on the back of that 4 by 10 piece. Again, the 10 can be longer or shorter depending on your preference and how you position it. The trick here is when you put it in with the bag. When you put the lining down inside the bag and the bag lining and exterior are right sides together, you're going to take your handle and make a U shape and drop it down inside the bag in between the lining and the exterior. That's it. That's all you're going to do. Now, when you leave your hole to turn the bag out, just leave it in between the two pieces of your handle strap. That's it. Simple, simple, simple. Of course, you could always do it the other way where you sew it to the edge of the bag and do like the X thing or whatever, but you could sew it into it. And then when you're edge stitching around, you'll secure it when you're closing it up, and then you'll secure it again when you're edge stitching around it. Very easy to do. I chose to not do the handles on it because neither one of my kids are going to want an Easter egg hunt. We've already talked about it, so they're not going to be carrying the basket around. It's literally going to sit there to hold their candy, and then they will probably do nothing else with it. So I'm not putting any more time into these than I need to. All right, let's take a look at the chat, see what you guys are working on, then we'll hop over. Oh, no, sorry. Squirrel. The fabric for Zoe's basket. So this is some fabric that I picked up from the quilt shop because Zoe, my daughter, plays violin. She tinkers with ukulele and she plays saxophone. And she wanted some sort of a bag to hold her music books so that when she was going to band practice or lessons, she had something that she could slide them down in and keep them protected. And so I bought this fabric. I actually bought all of it that they had, and I only probably needed a half of a yard, but they only had like 2 yards. So I killed the bolt on this and I brought it home thinking, well, surely they're going to have something else. There will be another project that I'll need some of this fabric for her. And sure enough, they had a panel that had the saxophone and stuff on it that goes with this line. And so it was really cool. I'll get to use this as a border for the panel. I'll quilt it up and that'll be a nice gift for her. But for her basket, we're going to go with this grunge matched with this fabric. She picked this out. This is not my color. This is not my wheelhouse, but what she really enjoys about it is the theme of the fabric. So this is what her Easter basket will be made of. Is this your pattern? There is no pattern. I made it up. So probably not original. But yes, this was off the top of my head. And you can customize it to be whatever you'd like it to be. It just means that the shape of the shape of the bag, tote, box, whatever, will just be a little bit different if you'd like it to be that way. Brandy is saying sewing 3 lines on the strap will make it stronger. Yep, you could do that too. How is Zoe doing with the violin? Mary is asking. It's not an easy instrument to play. I picked it back up after 50 years. Well, she's kind of set the violin down for now. She still tinkers with it. Her main instrument right now is saxophone. She's been doing that for about 2 years or so, and she is doing phenomenal. She loves it. Elma says you could put a loop on it and they could hang it on the wall or a doorknob, depending on the size of the loop. Oh, that's a great idea. I like that. Melanie says, I make my seam allowance a bit thicker for my lining. That way it's sitting nice. Yeah. And if I wasn't trying to handle the talking and the YouTube and the instruction and the bag all at the same time, I probably would have done that. But at the end of the day, I think my husband, Jay, hello? Or no, okay. He literally poked his head into the washroom and looked at me and then walked out. So I wasn't sure if he was trying to come in or tell me something. Pat says, 2 of my friends play ukulele, but they now play the ukulele banjo. Great sound, Zoe. You should check one out. Awesome. Kim says, my granddaughter plays the violin. That's great. Hey, you coming in here? Okay. You threw me off. I wasn't sure. All right. So let's take a look and see what you guys have been working on in the chat or in the Facebook group. I'd love to see what your projects are. So we're going to head over to this screen and hope all of the things work the way they're supposed to. Let's take a look at the first post. This is from, oh wow, this is from Carissa. She says, Fox from Harry Potter, and it is a paper pieced block. That's awesome. Holly says, this was inspired by last week's Friday Night Live. Your experiment with the disappearing 9 patch made my brain start to whir like crazy. So I designed this block using a 9 patch and a disappearing 9 patch. This was my first block mock-up, and I am making another one tonight with fabric that is a little bit more calm in the pattern, not so much the color, of course. So let's pull those up. If you guys missed it last week, I tried to take some fat quarters and turn them into some 9 patches and then do a disappearing 9 patch. That didn't work out so well. And I ended up just I had a couple of mistakes. And so I decided to walk away before I got too frustrated. And no, I have not picked that project back up this week. This is honestly the first chance I've had to sit down and sew all week, and I don't want to look at that right now. So it'll sit in a bin and I'll use that fabric for something else in the future. These are her different mock-ups. And here is her example block. Very pretty. Hey, Tracy, happy Easter. You guys, don't forget to check out Tracy's channel. Tracy over at the Sewing Channel is doing live streams now as well, so you guys will get a chance to interact with her live. Oh, awesome. Angela says, quick picture of my basket that I made that is like the one that is similar to the live. So what she did is she just rolled the lining down, and that's kind of cool too. So if your basket's kind of tall, you could just fold that top edge over to give it a little bit. Oh, that's cool. I think I'm going to do that. Yeah. I like that. That's cool. We're just going to pop that over. I thought what you meant is somebody has mentioned something about folding the lining over, and I thought what they meant is like sewing the lining so that it was rolled over. But yeah, that's cool. That's great. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Sometimes you got to see it to understand what people are talking about. Gian says, Becca, before everyone leaves, I want everyone to know how kind you were to me at the retreat. Thank you. I'm not sure what I did. But you're welcome and thank you. Brandy says, yes, I heard her play the sax in one of your videos. She did great. Yeah, she did. She did. She does phenomenal with it. I'm so proud of her. So Quilty with Melissa says, hey everyone, just jumped on. Hello, So Quilty Melissa. All right, let's scroll on. Oh my gosh, Kelly, can I please have your scraps? Oh, I am making some scrap paper pieced squares for a topper for a dresser to match my quilt. Look at this fabric, you guys. Isn't that delicious? Not that I really want to eat it, but you get what I'm talking about. So pretty. Speaking of pretty boutiques, I may or may not have been over at So Yeah this week. They may or may not have had a boutique sale by the bolt for $68 for a 10-yard bolt, which works out to $6.80 a yard. Yeah, definitely did that. And I may or may not have gotten 3 bolts of fabric. One of them is going to be a black that I can use as a background for some fun quilts. And then the other 2, I might keep some for me, but the rest of it I'm going to donate to Donna for her Dress-A-Girl project. So don't forget, she's doing Project Dress-A-Girl this year. She's doing she's taking all sorts of donations, and every packet, everything that she gets from you will get your name entered into a drawing for a fat quarter bundle that I'm going to give away at the end of summer when this is all done. So if you want a chance to win that fat quarter bundle, help her out with her Project Dress-A-Girl charity. Tracy Wick says, my work in progress that I have been working on since 2021, and I'm finally getting to the assembly. My husband's taking the trash outside. I heard stuff crash, and I literally about jumped out of my seat for just a moment because I didn't realize it was him. I hope it's him. It should be him. Wow. So pretty. Sammy Dodd says this is Little Marina, a very special border that I appliqued. I finished today while watching Becca's video that I fell behind on watching. No worries. Aww. Very nice. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm yawning. Brenda is working on her Fat Quarter Shop Designer mystery blocks. I am 1 behind. I need to get mine done. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you guys, I got to talk about this. This is from Bill. He says, it's not my finish, but look how nice the coat is that Rachel Nelson made for my mom. She is thrilled. So back in the fall, in October, we had our VIP retreat, and Rachel Nelson was kind enough to teach us how to make a quilted jacket, almost like a blazer style, out of some fabric and a crew neck sweatshirt that you can get from Walmart. And several of us have made those and have showed them off. And a few of us have taken that skill and used it to make them as gifts for others. And then some of us just haven't had the time to make our own. So we have commissioned Rachel to make ours. And this is one that Bill hired Rachel to make for his mom. So well done. And look at the cute little puppy down there. So Blessed by Jessica said, Tula Pink line in the Friendship Star. Fast project for a teen. I love this. That's great. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pronounce that right, but they said, I decided to jump into the Paint One, I don't know. It's a challenge with peach as the color. I'm designing the pattern as I go along and using fabric from my stash. The background is great, but speaking more light blue in the picture. Oh, wow. Karen says, I have been working on the flimsy of a memory quilt. Actually, I'm making two, but the other one is still in process. I pulled the holiday t-shirts out of the pile and arranged them in this ornament shape. I realize that I am mixing Halloween and Christmas, but part of the Halloween is peanuts. Great pumpkin, so it works. I just have to fill in a bit on the edges and try to work out some of the wonkiness. Curves do that to me every time. I love it. That's great. What a unique way to do a t-shirt quilt too. All right, let's refresh and see what else has come into the chat. Hello, Sean. Debbie says, I've been working on Moda Blockheads 5 Group 2 blocks using my Kansas Troubles fabric that I bought years ago. I'm trying to use some of my stash this year. Those blocks look beautiful. Lisa says, I'm working on a string quilt with scraps. It's turning out to be a good memory quilt for me. I love that. I love the blocks that are hanging up in the background too. Oh my gosh, Buffalo Bob. Holy cow, block 4 done. Will be queen size when done. This is my first time paper piecing. You guys, look at this. I love everything about this. I love the star. I love the colors. I love the batiks. I love the point. Oh, wow. Nice job. Let's see if we can zoom in and see what that pattern is. It looks like it's called Winter Solstice. It looks like it is a block of the month. And I can't read anything else. This is the January block, so very pretty. Hey, Courtney. Deb Rhodes says, making an acorn garland from a fig tree pattern using the cinnamon and cream from her fabric line. Jacqueline made this table topper from a quilt block she learned to make in her quilt guild and decided to make enough blocks for a table topper. That's great. Rhonda, what interfacing gives the most structure and smoothest feel? Pellon 808 Iron Wrinkles. Nice. Amy says, my first attempt at English paper piecing. So if you don't know what the difference is between FPP and EPP, EPP you do by hand. You wrap the fabric around the paper and sew it together by hand, whereas FPP, you put the fabric behind the paper and sew through the paper and the fabric. Susan says, not sewing, I'm packing instead. Oh, look, I do not envy you, Susan. I do not envy you. Karen says, I finished a few more for Quilts for Kids, plus some Easter treat bags from a Stacy Lee creative tutorial. Love hanging out with everyone on Friday nights. Awesome. By the way, if you have extra quilts, and I'll put this in a community post over the weekend, but if you have some extra quilt, oh, that's so cute. If you have some extra quilts lying around that you would love to donate to a good cause, I think Stacy Lee Creative is the one doing this. She's doing a foster care quilt drive, and I would love it if you guys donated any quilts that don't have a home that you're looking to offload to that. All of the information is on her website, her YouTube channel, and I will share it in the description box down below in this video. I'll also put it in a community tab post, and I'll put it in the Facebook group as well. They're just a great way to give back. That's all I got to say. This is from Tammy Ford. She's been playing with scraps for a while. Look at that. Maxine Taylor is working on both of these. The triangle one is from Watching Tiffany, and the other is a log cabin. Yeah, it is Stacy. Sean just confirmed it is Stacy Lee Creative. Thank you, Sean. I will be donating a couple of quilts, so yay. Stephanie said Lincoln is now complete. He just needs to be pressed really well. I do have a chat message in the chat from Sally Arthur asking me if I am doing a deep dive. Yes, I am. There are some videos out there on how to do paper piecing. In fact, I did a live stream of how I handled my Legit Kits paper piecing when I started Ursula. It's back in the fall, so you'd have to go back and look for that and dig for the video. If you want to email me, I can get you the links to those videos, and that way you don't have to hunt and peck for them. But also, there are wonderful Legit Kit videos out there. I know Ian's done some. I think Donna from Handmade by Ying has done some. Definitely check those out. And if you still need help, feel free to reach out and I'll see what I can do for you. Holly says this is tonight's colors for her block. Terry says a couple of runners I made, quilted, and bound today. You were very productive. Ellen did a beautiful tulip spring table runner after getting 2 feet of depressing snow. Oh, Ellen, I'm so sorry. Oh, that's gotta be horrible. Like, here's my beautiful tulips and spring colors, and I'm snowed in. Shelly Moyer says that she is making bags for a craft fair in a couple of weeks. The horse tote is a bag that she hand painted and lined. Oh, wow. I've got a couple of canvases that she painted for me that I just absolutely love. She's got a lot of talent. Beautiful, Shelly. Nicely done. Nani says, Legit Kits are wonderful, but they are so pricey. They are. They are worth it, but they are expensive. I won't say they're overpriced, but I will say they are expensive. So what I usually do with Legit Kits, because I do like doing those, I just pick one at a time and I'll buy that one and I'll work on that one. And I won't think about another one until that one's wrapping or is wrapped. However, I did make an exception this time around. I bought one at the Quilt Expo because I did. I got Big Hummer, which is a big hummingbird, and I can't wait to put that together. But I did splurge and I bought the Deep Dive Block of the Month because that's another kit I've been wanting to do, but they're intricate and they're pricey. And so I couldn't budget doing both. So what I chose to do is I broke it up over the 12 months. So every month I'm paying $40 a month, but then I'm getting a few blocks in the mail to put together. So it's taking that whole quilt and it's breaking it down into a 12-month process and a 12-month payment plan for me. It probably does come out a little bit more expensive in the end, but I'm okay with that. I'm paying for the convenience. If you are interested in doing that, Deep Dive is still open for signups, and month 1 is shipping now, and I will show you. I've already started. If you're interested, you can go to legitbom.com, and I do have an affiliate code for you. You just put in Becca Dive, all one word, and that's going to save you, I think, 10 or 15% off just month 1. It won't stay for the entire program, but the first month will be $35 instead of $40. I think $34 actually. So I've got my fabrics already. I've got my papers. I signed up for month 1 and I had month 1. I signed up for the block of the month and I had month 1 in my hands within a week. They're already shipping. So you guys get on it. But this is what it's going to look like. I'll show you here. They break the whole thing up. So month 1, you're working on just the flipper, which I love. And then this is what the whole quilt is going to look like. I am in love. When they dropped this beautiful turtle, I wanted to do it right away, but I couldn't. I had too many, I was already doing Ursula and I had Vortex, I think. And so I wasn't going to take another one. And this has been one that's been on my list for a while. So when they broke that into a block of the month, I jumped on board 100%. I'd rather do that than the eyeball. Just saying. Don't want to do the eyeball, but I do want to do that one. So if you're going to do it, Becca Dive will get you 15% off month one. And it's an easy sew. It is intricate. It is time consuming. I will tell you that. But you're going to love the end result. And I'll try to do a few standalone videos just on some tips about how to work with a legit kit, though I know there are a lot of instructors out there that have content that might be ready for you right now, so you don't have to wait for mine. Hope that helps. Patty says, hi Becca, can you please share what kind of holders is what is holding your rulers behind you? Mary, can you remind me of what company that was? So these are, I don't want to bring it all the way over here because there's tons of rulers in there, but it's a piece of wood that I am pretty sure Matt and Fallon could make. Hint, 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 hint. It is just a piece of wood that has routed out slots that holds all of my rulers. And it's about, here, let's see how wide it is. It is... by inches deep. And they're just doweled every half inch or so. So yeah, definitely check that out. Linda says, I am a sucker for sea turtles too. Yeah, this, so the, I already, like, I don't want to say this out loud in case she's watching, but I don't think she is. My sister-in-law loves turtles. And so I'm thinking that this will be a gift for her birthday in 2025. Because it won't be done before then. Because the block of the month won't wrap until this time next year. So I'm going to piece it, and I'm going to quilt it, and I'm going to give it to her for her birthday in 2025. Which is October. So that'll give me plenty of time to piece it. Oh, my voice broke up when I turned away. Sorry. The measurements of that were 14 inches wide by about 5 inches deep. And then the slots are 1/4 inch and they're about every half inch or so. So yeah, I'm going to give that to her. This is going to be a gift. It is going to be a very labor intensive, very expensive gift. And my sister-in-law loves everything that I've ever made for her. So she is extremely quilt worthy. And I can't wait for her to have this. I literally cannot wait for her to get this. She doesn't even know unless she's watching the video, in which case she does know. Huh. Maybe I'll quit talking about this. Karen says, I am doing the eyeball for my sister-in-law because she is an optometrist. Awesome. That's a great gift. Sammy says, my daughter is in grade 7. She made me one of the ruler holders in her mandatory woodshop class. Best gift ever. Awesome. All right, guys, it's just before 10 o'clock, so I think we're going to go check and see if Donna is live because I am ready to go spend some time with the hubs. It is Easter weekend. It is Good Friday. Happy Good Friday to all of you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I had a blast, as always. I hope you'll come on back next week. I have no idea what I'll be working on next week, but you'll find out about the same time that I do when I go live. Stand by for just a moment. If there are any last minute questions, go ahead and type them in the chat and I will, oh, is she not live tonight? Oh, she is live. Okay. If there are any last minute questions, go ahead and type them in the chat and I will answer them before we end the live stream. But if you're ready to pop over to the after party, I'm going to put the link for Donna's live in the chat. So you're happy to go over to the after party, but I will stick around for just a moment to make sure that there are no extra questions that you guys all have. Good night all, so in chaos. Good night, Angela. Joan Reed says, happy Easter, everyone. See you next week. See you next week. I don't think there are. Linda did say it would be a fabulous gift to get. I made myself an applique quilt with turtles. Awesome. All right, I think that's it. If there are any questions that come in after I start wrapping up, I'll just type the answer in the chat. I'll see you guys all next week or over at Donna's. Bye, friends.